All right, Alec. Welcome to the
All right.
video.
Welcome to the video. Here it
Welcome to
is.
the
It's just
video.
the video, eh? Yeah, we're here to talk about Mike Flanagan's newest and final Netflix show
Oh,
because he's going
I
to be
didn't know
moving
that.
to. Yeah, this was the last part of the contract. Because when they canceled so to go back to last year when we were talking about the Midnight Club.
Hmm.
Remember how we were talking about like how interesting it would be,
Yeah.
to see a season two, what's going to happen in a season two? Yeah, there's no season two, and Mike Flanagan wrote in a blog post kind of like his ideas for what he had for season two. Um, so we're never seeing that. What he wrote down sounded great.
Hmm.
It was very, very in tune with like the earlier haunting sort of stuff, I would say, like in terms of like the general vibe and feel, and but also very like it felt right for like that world and that universe too. So
Yeah.
kind of too bad could never see it to come to fruition. But yeah, after that he was like, yeah, well, I'm not renewing like my contract with Netflix, and I'll do that one last show with them, and then happy trails. So he's going to be working on stuff with I think Amazon Prime. He's going to be doing Amazon Prime shows now.
Hmm. It's
Um,
a shame.
which I shared with you this, I think, over the weekend, like one of the casts of something that
Yes. Yes, indeed.
was announced. It's an absolutely stacked cast. Another amazing cast that he always seems to nail.
Yeah.
Um, I think rumor has it that he's also going to be working on the Dark Tower, Stephen King's The Dark Tower
Hmm.
series, because supposedly Amazon is developing a series on that. So, um,
Okay.
but
Okay.
in any case, we're here to talk about The Fall of the House of Usher, which is the newest
Okay.
show by Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
for the uninitiated, we've done all of Mike Flanagan's like main horror series thus far, from Haunting of Hill
mhm.
House up till now. So we did the Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, and the Midnight Club. You know, they have the nice little pairs, huh?
Yeah,
Haunting,
it's
Midnight
interesting.
Midnight. And then here we
This
are.
is another house. It's a house, but this is all about. It's more about. It's all about Edgar Allan Poe, really.
Yeah.
Not like about Poe, but it's just the entirety of Poe's like oeuvre, to use a word that
Right.
to use a word that I heard recently on the Otaku Brothers podcast that apparently I used in an email over a year ago. All of Poe's oeuvre is sort of used, from his short stories to his poetry to kinds of other stuff. So,
So we'll keep it spoiler free for the beginning, you know, for those you want to
okay.
decide whether you want to watch it or not. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't know much about the series when we were gonna watch it. Pretty much all I got to hear is by Mike Flanagan, and I'm like, okay, I don't even need to know the details. I just remember
Yeah.
you mentioned it being based on Edgar Allan Poe stuff, and I was like, I honestly, when I remembered it when I was watching it, I was thinking, oh, this is gonna be just actually like a depiction of an Edgar Allan Poe story, but it actually is actually a lot different than what I was expecting. It's more like
Honestly,
a
same.
blend. It's a blend of Edgar Allan Poe stories and like putting all the characters from these different stories together into like one cohesive story,
Mm.
into like a what the original Fall of the House of Usher story is like a lot more. There's not all these characters involved, you know. So
No,
it's just like
it's
taking the base of everything and just fleshing out, making into basically a whole new story, but just obviously the heavy inspiration of different elements. Essentially, most of the episodes each are like an isolated story,
mm.
and yeah. So I mean, baseline impressions. What do you think? We've been impressed so far by every other series. So is it up
Very
there?
much so. Yeah. I'm very torn on this series. I will say that
Hmm.
I love tons about it. I'll put that out there. I love so much about it. Um, and I think so much of it works. And I really, the performances, as we've often touted before, performances are all amazing. Again, especially the Carlo Gugino, Bruce Greenwood, and Mark Hamill in particular are all phenomenal in this. I think they're kind of like the standouts. But there's just like there's it's hard. I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's just something about it that like I loved it, but there was something that wasn't like I can't quite put my finger on it. I think it's great, and I don't want to take anything away from
Hmm.
that. And I did for the most part I loved it, but um yeah, it was something it just didn't quite reach the heights I was kind of hoping for, I think. Um but
Hmm.
I mean
Yeah.
overall very positive. I mean I'd easily recommend this to anyone pretty much.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
um
I thought it was excellent,
but
and I do agree though, and I think we'll be able to pinpoint it more if we go into spoil when we go into
mm,
spoilers. But
yeah.
yeah, I think there's a particular reason why it doesn't work as much for me, and it has to do with
Yeah.
how the story kind of unfolds, and which
Yeah,
makes it kind of inherently less compelling than the other stories, right? Because you like the all the other stories is kind of an unexpected element. To this is it's not really that much. It's kind of like you can know what's gonna happen by like a couple episodes in, and I think that's what kind of takes a little
right.
bit of the wind out of the sails. Is because you're just basically watching things unfold that you kind of knew are gonna happen in some way.
Right. I think to me to try to keep it as spoiler free as possible. I think to me what makes his other shows work so well is the sort of like relatability to the characters and not maybe not necessarily the scenarios, but like the Mike Flanagan often gets lots of flack for having like for writing a lot of like long-winded dialogue, a lot of like monologues and stuff like that. People really the biggest critique of Midnight Mass was that there was too much of that. Where I completely disagree. That show needed that, and it was so wonderful because of it. I think you and I think sharing that's probably our favorite Mike Flanagan show. I at least it's mine.
Um,
It upon reflection.
Between that and Hill House, for
Um,
me, I think.
yeah, it's tough to say between that. I would like to watch Hill House again, honestly.
Mm.
And I really didn't get that in this series. There's a very this is not I didn't find much in terms of I couldn't really relate to anybody in this. And kind of
Really?
that's sort of the point, I think. Like I think that's again, not
Yeah,
don't want to get into spoilers too far. That is sort of the point. But like to me it's like okay, that's fine because it's still great. Don't get me wrong, but
it's true. It's
to
true.
me it's like you lose a little bit of to me it's almost you lose a bit of the mystique of Poe because a lot of it is played very like I don't want to say like on the nose but like a little on the nose I think like in terms of how it sort of um how it sort of interprets or uses the Poe stories. Like Edgar Allan Poe is very like there's a very like gothic and mysterious and sort of like ambiguous air about like a lot of his not every single one but a lot of his fiction is very like has a lot of ambiguity has like unreliable narrators and some of this is at play here too but it's a lot more blunt about it
Right.
and I almost feel like it could have taken a leaf out of earlier Mike Flanagan works because there's a little bit of mystery and ambiguity and a lot of stuff and I think maybe that's kind of a little bit what was missing too. Um, but still, overall, it was a great show. I mean, I really enjoyed my time with it. So
Yeah, I think you're exactly right though that it's missing that you need the relatable element. Even if you don't relate to the other characters in the other movies, there are a lot more characters you
yeah,
like and are rooting for. This series had
yeah,
maybe
or
one character that I liked as a person. it's like
right,
it's like mostly we're
yes,
following horrible people. That's what this
yes.
series is. So
It's very they're all just the worst people imaginable.
which makes for it
So
interesting and definitely paves its own path here. Like it sets itself apart from the other series in that way, but
yeah,
inherently it's going to make it harder to kind of really click with you. You know, you just gotta appreciate for what it is, watching the events unfold. And
Yeah.
but I will say, like after watching this, like a couple episodes in, I'm like, man, this is like Flanagan All Stars. Like
It
they
is. It
got
really
all
is.
the all star cast of all Flanagan series. You got someone from everything: Hill House, Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, and
It's
Midnight
got
Club. You know,
it's got it all. It's got it all. Oh yeah, Midnight Club too. Yeah, with the
yeah, some just the Midnight Club people. You know, just Midnight Mass people. There's just so many. I had a whole list of this. Like, you
yeah.
know, everybody you see except for your main Bruce Greenwood is like, if you see the posters, like Flanagan All Stars.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, yeah, Carla
yeah.
Gugino's been in everything, right? Hasn't she been? Maybe she was in Midnight Club, but I feel like she's been in almost everything he's done.
No, she's only been in Hill House, I think.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I could have swore she was in. I could have swore she was in an earlier one. She was amazing in this, by the way. She was
Yeah.
just stellar, absolutely
In
stellar.
the nature of
Um.
her, she got to showcase a lot of different stuff, but the nature of the
Oh
role
yeah,
she played.
that was the beauty of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, overall,
I was writing them down, and I don't think anyone's been in all of them actually, but there's been some who've been in like three out
yeah,
of four of the previous shows or whatever. Like Kate Siegel, I think,
right.
has been in all but
Yeah,
Midnight Club.
yeah, it was
So
all but Midnight Club. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
can't. I would definitely recommend it. I mean, I really would recommend it. It's just not going to be like a. You know, what was beautiful about the other series is that it's horror. It's got elements of horror, but it's also like a drama at the center of it, which is like,
Mhm.
you know, you're relying on characters and growing attached to the characters and stuff. You're not going to get that here. It's very different in that way, but
I, I think at fault here because I think Bruce Greenwood's character great. I think he has a great arc. It's very interesting. I like sort of I mean, it is the fall of the House of Usher, and he's the main.
mm-hmm.
But I think like you look at shows that I've not watched Succession, but I've heard very very good things about it. But you watch shows about like powerful families and that do like really or horrible or corrupt things. So there's that. You think of like Breaking Bad. They're way more compelling than these horrible people that are in this show. And it's like
Yeah,
to me it's like there's a level of like almost blunt cartoonishness to it. And I think that's what I think
that's fair.
that's kind of what I don't like about it.
That's fair, and there is really not much of an arc for these characters. It's like,
No.
you know, started horrible.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it kind of goes. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think we should get into spoilers. There's a lot to
Yeah.
unpack here.
Let's go.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack here for sure. So,
So yeah, I think going into spoilers, I think it is like the detriment to the series that I found very noticeable watching it, even as like it's a very like tragic story on the surface. But of course, you don't really care about the characters all that much because they all are basically horrible for the most part. They're basically horrible by the time
yeah.
they meet their end. And also following Bruce Greenwood, even if his story is a little more interesting than the others, you don't really see him grappling with. You don't see many people grappling with what's actually going on. This the bluntness of like, okay, back to business. You know, it's really over the top with how blunt it is. It's like, I don't even care that my child just died, my second child, my third child. It's like, how does this affect the company? You know, and it's like, okay,
Well, it's because he ultimately knows what's coming, and he's trying to deny it.
right,
Right? Because you find out in the end because they made that deal. I mean, you kind of can figure it out. That's another thing too. Is like the Faustian deal that they make with. We'll call Carla Gugino the entity. It's hard to say what she is
she's like
exactly.
death, yeah,
Is death basically, or Faust? Like it is very much like I'll give you exactly what you want, but in the end, I'm taking everything that you have back for myself.
right,
So it's like had they lived virtuous lives from even after killing that horrible business guy who Mr. Business, I don't remember his name, the guy who was in charge of Fortunato after their father died.
yeah,
They could have lived, lives that were beneficial to society. And it's
Mm.
like, to me, I think maybe one of the things that I wish the series had done more of is, I think having Roderick have more of a, be more conflicted, or maybe show more, like, we see the stuff that happens leading up to the bargain, but we don't see anything in like the direct aftermath. Like, when did he become an absolute womanizer? You just kind of told that he is,
Yeah.
because he's got all these bastard children that show up at his doorstep.
Even in the
And
flashback, it's like, when did he become the kind of person who just murders someone and like show no remorse for it? It's just kind of like, oh, okay, this is what he does, and then
it's, to me, it's almost like, they wanted to make him and Madeline like equal parts evil, but
yeah.
to me, it almost would have been more compelling to have her, because she was clearly the worst influence on him imaginable, because like he was somebody that was going to, that wasn't maybe necessarily going to be uh, that horrible to Augie August, who's he's another one of my, that actor is amazing. We talked about him in Captain America and the Winter Soldier. He's
Yeah.
fantastic also. He's I can't remember his name.
Carl
He's,
Lumbly.
yes, he's amazing. He's another character that's like, he's kind of a good guy. You know, he's nice. He's,
He
he's good.
is. He's the
He's
one
actually,
one of the two that come to mind.
him, Lenore, and Annabelle Lee are like the
Oh
only
yes,
good
there you go.
characters in
Yeah,
this
yeah.
whole thing, pretty much.
That's right.
Yeah, because everyone else is just a monster or taking advantage of.
Yeah.
Oh, I would say, what's her name? Who was from Midnight Club was also. She was just kind of like completely like,
Which one? Juno?
yeah, Juno, the stepmom, basically.
Which I felt was
She's
like a
like
very
way younger
weird
than
cast.
everyone.
It felt like a very weird
Oh,
casting choice, but I was like,
yeah,
okay,
it
but
worked. I
no
mean,
worries.
because she was very much um, like sort of just along for the ride kind of thing. Like, she just got swept up in
Yeah.
this drama and didn't really have any control over herself or the situation until like the last episode, where she's like, "Screw you,
Hmm.
Roderick." And I was like, "Good. It's about time you stood up for yourself."
So that's the thing with Roderick, is like,
Mm,
uh, yeah, we really don't see that arc whatsoever. Like you said, it looks like Madeline's more the bad influence, but it's a very quick cut from like, I guess for the
yeah.
twist, the drama of it all, that he like betrays August in this moment. They didn't want to
Mm,
show like any sign of it, but it's like, boom, he's just like cutthroat, and then he's not even conflicted like when they're actively burning this guy in the wall. Like, he's just doing his thing, and he's making his comments, and like, unfazed. It's like, okay, I
yeah.
didn't know this, what the character is, what he was, but okay, I guess he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then it's like you follow him the whole time, and he's like seemingly not caring at all that the children are dying. They're like, but then you see more and more that they're like haunting him basically. But
Mm.
even then, it's like you don't feel any sort of like remorse. There doesn't feel like there's actual guilt there. And then Madeline
There's,
too,
yeah.
is
It's
like
like,
very callous, but
so, and I think to me the thing that like that just felt completely out of place was Madeline's speech at the very end. It's like, it was like a Mike Flanagan like speech. Like, it was very much like, he wrote this clearly, but it was like the most preachy, like the current event preachy that you could possibly be,
hmm.
and I hated it. I hated every single line. I was like, this coming out of this character, this isn't like, this is trying to like say something, but like, I don't
Right.
I can't agree with this character with anything. She's like,
Yeah.
the people are all awful, because, and we give them that because like that's how we keep them in line. So it's like, yeah, I get that I'm supposed to be like disagreeing with her, but like at the same time, it's like, it's also trying to like have a commentary about like, oh, the government's taking like women's
Women's
rights
liberties,
away, and then this like,
which
and
is
it's like,
very
what?
weird for
Where
her
did
to
this
say.
come from? It was like, what are you talking about? Where is this coming from? It just felt so out of left field. I really hated that. I really did not like that at all. And I'm glad that she died like immediately after. I was like, good, shut her up, shut her up. And he did because he did the classic Egyptian burial. So
Yeah.
it was great.
So, all right, do we want to go like, I don't know how we want to unpack this. There's so many different stories, all the different characters.
Well, okay, so we cover in the span of 8 episodes, we cover adaptations, quote unquote,
Yeah.
loose coverings of Mask of the Red Death, which is my personal favorite Poe story.
By the way, that
the Telltale Heart.
that episode is where it was like, boom, oh, it's on, I'm in. Like the first, that was the second episode, I think. Hardcore. But the first episode, it was like, I don't really know how to feel about this. And the second one,
I'm kind of like, this is weird. Yeah, that was like, well, that episode was like, I was like, wow, this is like really like sexy. Like I was like, it's just boobs.
Yeah, by the way, sex heavy in this. Like every single person has like such a heavy, like different sexual lifestyle, and it's like very.
See, and that was another thing. That was another thing too. Where I was like, it felt like it was too much. I was like, does every single family member have to be a deviant, like a weird, creepy deviant? and I guess that's sort of a commentary on the fact that like wealthy people are like can often because they can easily indulge in all their fantasies, so they can be as much of a deviant as they want to express of themselves. So like,
I just want one day where I'm not in control. You know, I'm a boss in my everyday life. It's like that kind of thing. I'm a boss in my everyday life, so in my sexual life, I want to be like Miss Bev Keane.
Yeah, she is a cuckold fetish basically.
Yeah.
So she watches her boyfriend. I actually don't know if he's
a
husband or
yeah.
Oh, it was a husband. Yeah, because she said wedding ring, right? Yeah. So. She's got like a cuckold fetish, so like he like has sex with like a bunch of different women, and then he also like I kind of liked him too. I like when he stood up for himself. I like that moment too because he's like, I've always hated this, but I've done it for you,
right?
Because I want to make you happy because you're my wife, and then she's just like the most horrible, miserable, dismissive person in the world. I'm like, oh man, they really do deserve everything. And that, to me, that's sort of the fun. That's the enjoyment that I had, was getting to see these people get theirs. Felt kind of good. In a way, it's almost like a diatribe on like, should there really be billionaires? Probably not. That's kind of what this whole thing felt like to a certain degree.
That's the only thing you can really take away from this, I think, as a message, is like how much it corrupted this, like money and power corrupted this whole family. The fact that they took this deal instead of living out a normal life, and the whole contingency was like, oh, but you know, they'll have a great life for the years they do have because they're so wealthy, you know, so it'll be a really good life even if it's cut short. But no, it turns out it literally ruined all of them. This money and power, just like any redeeming qualities are just stifled by it.
Right, and I think a lot of that comes from just the fact that their aunt and their father is just like they're terrible. They're horrible people. Like that's all they care about is just money and power and getting what they feel is they deserve. And they instilled all of those values in their children. and that's sort of like and that's why, because like there's some of the things that I really like about sort of where Carla Gugino's sort of like because she monologues and like toys with each one when she's getting what she's owed. She's killing off the bloodline.
Yeah,
I like how she sort of like talks to. There's one in particular where she talks to. I think it was Leo. No, it was
it's a lot of names.
Henry
Henry Thomas.
Henry Thomas's character. He's okay. Also, Henry Thomas, also amazing. He's like fantastic. He could just be whoever. He could just be whoever in any of these. And he's amazing.
Yeah, Frederick.
Frederick. Yeah, or Froderick as they called him because he's just trying to be a sycophant to his dad,
Mm-hmm.
who's the firstborn. Is He's kind of like the like little timid kind of thing, and he turns into a real sicko at the end, where he's
Really
like torturing his
scumbag.
wife.
Yeah.
Torturing his wife is really messed up, and that's the thing that I really like, because when he got his, she was like, I could have just I could have just taken your life. You could have just died in your sleep. Had you still continued to be just kind of a normal person, but you had to take it this far. You had to go that much further.
Mm.
Um because you were going to be a dentist in your other life, and you had to take out her teeth. You had to torture your wife. So I'm going to make this as painful as possible for you.
Yeah.
Um and that I love that, because it's like, it to me, there's like an interesting, like, even-handed justice to all of their deaths. Um, like with Lenore is the most innocent of them all. She's just a
Yeah.
sweet little girl, and she has to die too because she's part of the bloodline. But with her, she tells her, "Hey, positive things are going to come out of your life, out of everything that's happened here, and you get to know about it before you die."
Mm.
And then she just very peacefully death. So had they lived virtuous lives throughout their lives, they would have been able to maybe benefit society. Sure, they would have all died, but they would have had huge ramifications, like positive ramifications for society. But instead, they killed like millions and millions of people through the
Right.
drugs.
The fact that Roderick, even after making this deal, went and just fucked around and made sure he had got so
Mm.
many children to be affected by this. Like, come on. Let me put so many children out here that will have to fall
Yeah.
victim to this thing. I mean, I don't know if
Well, yeah, and
they didn't take it seriously, obviously, but like you don't know until like it happens. But
mm.
it's like, of course,
But I do love how, yeah, she just sort of warps reality around them to basically mess with them, more or less, like giving them the just death that they deserve, more or less, in pretty much every single case, um but always kind of giving them an out. Like, she gave for Leo, she did give him an out. She was like, "Hey, this is it." I also like the pun of this. This is a no this isn't a no kill shelter,
yeah,
which is right, because that place doesn't even exist. She just made this place up. So pick one of these. Like, tell your boyfriend what happened. Basically, she's trying to give him an out the whole time. He's like, "No, it's got to be that one. Got to be that black one." She's like, "All right, you'll keep lying to your boyfriend. You're gonna get the worst, a horrible death." Where you're going insane and you're tearing your whole apartment
yeah.
with Thor's hammer.
She does have yeah, she does have this running thing where she is like, you don't have to be here. You didn't have to be here. Like when she's the
Mm,
security card, and she's like, you don't have to be here, But she
yeah,
insists.
yeah.
So
She
it's like,
tried to give
okay,
him an out. Yeah.
which was a really weird one, by the way. The freaking
Oh, with a
chimps.
monkey? Yeah, that was so like I watched, like, I did it in I was gonna watch it in like 3 or 4 chunks, but I ended up watching it in 2 chunks. And it was the first 3 episodes, and that was the first one I did. I was like, all right, that's enough for tonight.
Yeah. Jeez.
I was just like, the monkeys. That was like the weirdest thing in the world. Sorry, the chimpanzees.
Yeah.
That was one of
Yeah.
one of them, like, corrected that. Vic, I think, was the one that was like, I'm like, shut up. They're monkeys, okay?
Which was how Kate
Uh,
Siegel's character Camille dies. She had her
yeah.
whole thing with her assistants, who were also from the Midnight Club. Her two assistants, who
Yes, they both were.
she
Yeah.
had them doing sexual stuff for her, and
Yeah, they were like her assistants, but then they also were like, they were like, oh, they were basically like full service. It was kind of like a trying to think of like what there's like a weird term for that sort of thing, where it's like a almost like free use. Like, you're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna have sex with you now
right,
whenever I feel like.
right, it's just
And
like,
so
and
it's
you
just
just
like,
serve me. Like she just laid down starfish, as
yeah,
she
it's
said.
just
She's like, like this one's gonna be
and they're
hard
just
for you
like, no.
guys.
And they're just like, no.
Finally, they're like, no. But like how the
Yeah.
first time they showed it, they were like both like perfectly posed on the bed, like
Yeah.
symmetrically,
Well, I
waiting.
saw when that was happening, I was like, what's going on? Because I see them like in the background, they're both like upsized
Yeah.
and they start taking their clothes off, and I was like, oh, geez, more. I was like, more deviants in this show. All these kids are weird sexual
Yeah.
deviants. Um, yeah,
And then of course, Prospero, otherwise known as Perry,
yeah.
he had
That
a
was this big
whole,
orgy.
yeah, loves his orgies. Damn, that was really what set the tone for the show. Was when, like, I mean, he brought
Yeah.
us in with this freaking orgy he essentially hosted with,
Yeah.
where he invited the Frederick's wife to it and everything. Everybody's
Mm.
a masquerade, so everybody had masks on, and then it was supposed to rain down on him, and then just you just hear everybody just screaming in terror and pain, and it's like acidic, and they're just
Yeah.
destroyed.
Yeah. That was actually like I think of the like that was the one that I felt like was the most like viscerally gruesome that
Oh,
I really enjoyed. I was like, because it's just like this mass of flesh, basically. Because everyone's
mm,
like melting, their skin's like sloughing off. It's like
awful.
it's so gross. I loved it. I love like that was. I think that was probably my favorite, one of my favorite scenes, because in addition to like, there's some. This is something that I know from the watching the Red Letter Media reviews. So there's this type of film called giallo, which is really popular. It's like an Italian sort of style, um, and they tend to use like a lot of like very like neon or bright lights in particular moments. And it was something that I noticed, particularly in that episode, but then I noticed it continuing. That whenever Carlo Gugino's character was basically enacting the kill,
Mm.
it would always take this like monochrome, this neon like light. It would be everything would be lit in a singular color, and it would do that for every single character. It was really cool. I really liked that a lot, and I almost felt like that was some sort of giallo influence on like we're gonna like light things in a particular way. Things are gonna be like very like this the mood is set because like this it's almost like communicating to the audience like there's this weird fantasy or like this is like warped reality for them now.
Mm.
And I think you kind of get that especially with like Leo where he's tearing his house apart and then it, like cuts back to I can't remember his boyfriend's name. But like cuts
Mm.
back to him and he's like seeing it in like normal color. But then it cuts back to his perspective and it's like this bright yellow like neon lit where he's like tearing he's like using the hammer to just
Right.
tear into everything. um and I really like that a lot, but you see a lot obviously because he's throwing a big rave orgy basically. Everything
Yeah.
there is red, very very red because Mask of the Red Death, so makes sense.
Yeah, and that's one of those
um
things like, wow, that's a horrible thing to imagine. Like the fact he's like waiting for, you're expecting water, and just the
and then it's
imagine
just
the shock to your system when that
it's
happens. Like, Jesus.
yeah, acid and like toxic waste basically.
Yeah, because of their
So
family
yeah,
and how they handled that building.
yep.
But it was so crazy because it was like such a bold like introduction to like
Mm,
how the story is gonna go, and then it, you know, it
mm.
goes to credits, very dramatic. But you're
That's
like,
the I
yeah.
always like that where it hits you that deep bass of like the title hits you like that. I always like that.
But I'm like, oh man, what's the fall? Imagine the fallout is gonna come from this. Like, how is everybody gonna react? No one cares. Not a single person cares.
Because they're
I know
so
that's
powerful,
obvious.
they just cover it up. They cover it up somehow.
Yeah,
Which to me that
but
to
another
me there's
family
part of
liked
that
him or cared about him even slightly. They're like, oh, he died. Okay. So
no, Leo
let's
was
go to
pretty cut
business.
up about it. He was the one because he was the one that was always self-medicating with everything because he was just like taking drugs the whole time. He was kind of bothered by it. Everyone, no one else really cared.
Yeah.
He was the one that was sort of bothered
Like
by
his
it though.
literal
Um,
father did not care. He was like, how do we fix this
yeah,
immediately? Like business time.
yeah, yeah. Um, but that's kind of where Mark Hamill's character came into shine. Arthur
Mm,
Pym.
Arthur Pym.
Um, he is like he's like the go-to. He's basically like the Mike of this show, is what it felt like to me.
Like Breaking Bad Mike.
um, from Breaking Bad, yeah,
Yeah.
and Better Call Saul. Very much like Mike. He's just like the guy who like comes in to get things done.
Yeah,
Um,
gravelly voice too.
yeah, with his gravelly voice. He's just great. I love every time he was saying something, he was very, even if it was just like a very dry
Hmm.
thing to. I really like the scene where it was August, him, and the judge, and that scene was really good too. I like that one where he's just like doing his crossword again, and it's kind of like very catty back and forth between them. Um,
What's really interesting about how they showed um, Gugino's character is that
mm,
she seems like the classic character that would be like no one can see her but the person she's affecting at the time,
yeah,
but it's not. It's like you actually like
yeah,
presenting like photographic evidence, like look at this person 100 years ago versus now, and like like actually people can interact with
right.
her, and there's
That was
tangible
actually
evidence
something
of her.
that was another thing I actually liked, that kind of weird commentary. The fact that all of these people, all of these really super powerful people, are have, because they've made some sort of deal with her. Like that's sort of the implied narrative. I kind of like that. That was fun. I
Hmm.
mean, that was kind of a fun little commentary about like the people who get very rich and famous. I thought that was amusing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I like that too. But and a lot of that seemed to be in essence a way for them so that they are able to track her down.
Yeah.
So to lead with the collapse of the house in and of itself.
Hmm.
But
It's just so unique to that kind of. She's basically death, and the fact that
mm, yeah,
Arthur can see her, and like
hmm
it doesn't
she
matter if
offers
he
a
was on
deal
the
to
phone
him
with
that he
her.
refuses.
Right.
I like that too. I like that he refuses his deal. Of all the people, it makes so much sense that he would be like, no, I'll take whatever, I'll take whatever justice, more or less, that I deserve. I've gotten
Hmm.
pretty good deal here, and it's not going to be worth it to me to try to weasel my way out.
Right.
So,
All right. So who else? So we mentioned Leo a little bit. That's Raul Coley,
mhm.
who's been
Yeah,
in Haunting of Bly Manor and Midnight Mass, and now this character. Three very different characters he's played in each
very
one,
different, so different.
and he's always
They're
so
yeah,
fun to watch. I think he's like
yeah,
always like a standout character to me.
yeah. Oh yeah, he was very charismatic here. I liked him a lot. Well, I like that whole like the whole subplot because like the black cat thing is like over the course of a few episodes. So
Hmm.
and that's another Poe story. So I was originally going through
Yeah,
Poe
I
stories. So we
interrupted you
had
there.
right, yeah. So that was right. So I said that was Master of Death, Telltale Heart. Well, the Black Cat is no. Well, in order, it's Mask of the Red Death, then the the I should get an episode list up so
I don't know the exact order, but I
I
know
can
the Pit and
remember.
the
Yeah, I
Pendulum.
can't remember. The Rue something a Rue House, Rue Murder in the Rue Morgue,
Okay.
the Black Cat, the Telltale Heart, Goldbug, the Pit and the Pendulum, and then of course the Raven, which is also referenced in the first episode's title with A Midnight Dreary.
Hmm.
Um, but even without all this stuff, so there's like the Cask of Amontillado is something that is comes
Yeah.
into play in the last episode.
Which I remembered always liking that
There's
story too. That one always stood out to me.
that's a good one too. Yeah. Annabelle Lee comes into play a lot. That was like the last thing he wrote before he died. And then of course it's referenced a lot in um, it's referenced in this in the fact that they basically make it that Roderick the one who writes Annabelle Lee because he's talking about his wife.
Yep.
And then I think the last thing that Dupin Auguste Dupin quotes is also yes, it's Poe's Spirits of the Dead.
Sure.
But all of the other like all the characters' names, they're all the name of the company, Fortunato.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is just like all taken out of Poe's things, which I think that's wonderful. I
That's
really
awesome.
like how they sort of
He weaved
interweaved
it
a
all
lot of that.
in.
I mean, I
It
think
was beautiful.
I think, and again, I think there's something that's missed in doing all that. There's some of the mystique that's missed, but
Hmm.
you're having a lot of fun with what you're doing, and that to me is,
Right.
I think, the why this is so good is because it's fun. It's fun seeing them all die horrible deaths.
Yeah.
um, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Most of the death scenes are really effective. You know, whether they're brutal
Mm,
or sometimes they're like heartbreaking in different ways. But you ultimately don't really feel bad for the person dying most of the time. And
yeah.
but super effective. Like really, they did have a lot of fun weaving all these stories in, and then with the cinematography and different elements they actually in the production, you could definitely see a lot of
Mm,
passion put into it for sure.
mm,
So we didn't really talk about the Telltale Heart story that
right.
they used in this. I thought it was really clever take on it.
Mm,
Because I was like, yeah, what could that noise be? The whole time, I'm like, I wasn't looking at the episodes, but I'm like, okay, this is definitely they're going for Telltale Heart here. But really interesting how that all unfolds with what's her name,
Victorine.
Victorine, right? Who
Yeah.
played Hannah in The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Her
um,
coming back in, and she's also just a terrible person.
yeah, yeah. So she has
um.
the whole thing with the chimpanzees that she's got this whole little underground thing going on where she's testing on them, and you know, basically her father and her aunt have been pushing her to go into human trials, and
Mhm.
um, essentially
And
her
they're doing that.
girlfriend. Yeah.
They're doing that. See, this is something that like the I almost wish they'd gone maybe more into this, because it's clear his obsession with that is so he can try to live forever, more or less,
Mm,
right? Or extend his life so he can keep
true.
piling on the
Yeah, that's
fame
true.
and the fortune. And they didn't really talk. Like, I almost wish there was more like pointed stuff. Like, you tried to stave this off from me, but not you couldn't run away. You couldn't run away from river, because you
Right.
can't run away from death at the end of the day,
He was
as
trying
much
to
as you
cheat
try
death
to.
essentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Ultimately, like her girlfriend is the one who would be performing this stuff on these human trials that
Mm.
they're looking to get into, and yeah. So the Carlo Gugino's character is the one that's gonna be the test subject, basically. But she's like
Hmm.
really creepy as this character. I like how they like do the switch
Yeah.
between the two.
Yeah.
Like when she's looking away, you can tell her like voice changes, and she's not like in that accent. Very creepy, but she's very creepy. Just once you establish her as that role, like it's very creepy when you see her face pop up, even as like the security guard in that scene.
Right. Right.
But yeah, so ultimately, Victorine, she accidentally kills her girlfriend after their whole argument, where she's basically storming out, and she won't keep it all a secret. She's gonna go tell. Um, and then it takes a dark, really.
Yeah. I think that might have been my favorite twist in the whole thing, because like I couldn't quite figure out, like, I figured out like pretty early on that that noise was the like activator, but I was like, but what does that mean? Like, I'm not
Right.
sure like what that means exactly. Like, is that foretelling like what's going to happen to her or something? Like, she's going to
Yeah.
try to like force it on herself. And it's like, no, she's completely lost it. She
Yeah.
snapped basically when she killed her girlfriend, and she ripped her torso open and like forced it on her heart, and it's
Yeah.
just pumping and doing nothing, more or less.
So
Um,
like really
Yeah.
really creepy and like so cool they do so many different things like that in the series where it's like a nice reveal, like the whole
Mm.
Cask of Amontillado storyline too, where they reveal like this brick wall he's been looking at all this time, and they reveal what that
Yeah.
was. So,
Yeah. And then why they keep hearing the bells ringing
mm,
because it's his
yeah,
jester hat. They keep hearing like he's still behind there,
right.
moving around. But there's
R-
some yeah there's some like there's good use of like foreshadowing and things like that. I mean, I think Mike Flanagan has always really been very good at that through like most of the other shows. Um, but I
mm.
think that and yeah, and this show does a really good job with a lot of that stuff. So
Yep, and we mentioned the Frederick storyline briefly, but that was super like uncomfortable to watch the scene with
oh
him
yeah,
and his
I hated
wife.
it.
Like,
I hated it
God,
because he's all like coked up and everything too. Or he's
yeah,
just like, oh yeah, I'm awesome, yeah, yeah. And then he's doing these horrible things to his wife, where
you
he's
can just
basically
see
torturing
the
her.
terror in her eyes, where she's like,
Oh, it's so
conscious
bad.
that
It's
she
so
can't do
horrible.
anything about it.
Yeah,
It's very satisfying when Lenore like actually like, she's not just like an ignorant little girl. She like puts her foot down and makes sure she's all right, and
yeah.
like clearly her dad is not expressing any care for her whatsoever. Like, where are the doctors at? What's good? Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And then flipping out on her, and
Yeah.
yeah, that was really like that was a really tough scene to watch. Honestly, in my opinion, I think the my least favorite of the storyline is probably the Gold Bug one.
Yeah, I'm not also not a fan of that. I mean, like just in terms of like once again, she's just playing a horribly miserable person.
That's
Why
just,
can't she play a
that's
good
what she
person for
does.
once?
Samantha
She's really
Sloyan
good at it.
plays
She's really good at playing
Tamerlane.
someone who you literally just want to punch in the
Though the
face.
first time we saw her actually was in the Haunting of Hill House when she played like just the nice wife of Steve,
Yeah, that's true.
and
I
then
guess that's
she was
true.
like a
Yeah.
side character. But then as soon as she's like
Yeah.
thrust in the spotlight, Midnight Mass, we got Bev Keane, and it's like, okay, can't picture her as anyone nice ever again. That's just
Yeah,
what she is.
basically, yeah. Yeah, and she's like horribly manipulative in Midnight Club as well, a character.
Mm,
So,
right.
yeah.
But yeah, like just from seeing her like on the Midnight Mass before that on Midnight Mass, it's
Yeah.
like you immediately are
You're
like
just like
unsettled
yeah.
by her appearance.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
Yeah,
she
her
can't
whole
just be a
presence
nice
is just
lady.
like nope. Yeah, her whole presence is so here it's like she's basically Gwyneth Paltrow, like more or
Yeah,
less. Like
this
they,
is
they
not
make
Goop
reference to
though.
that where it's
Yeah,
not Goop. It's a lifestyle brand. It's not Goop or Peloton, right? We're more of a lifestyle thing.
this is one of
And
the ones that showcases more so than
or
everything how it's like super modernized take on the stories. Obviously
yeah,
you can tell, but it's
yeah,
like, wow, this is really like this generation
yeah.
version of these stories melded together.
Of a story, yeah. Yeah, I liked her. I mean, I sort of like I couldn't help but like cringe the whole time while she's doing this presentation and she's just like making a complete fool of herself. And there's just something that's like both satisfying, but I'm just like, oh, I hate it. I hate it because like all I can do is just be in the people in the room's perspective here, and I'm just like, this is the most uncomfortable thing in the world.
Yeah.
Where she's losing it in front of everyone.
Right, but she's so great. You
Um,
like they. It feels like they always need to put her
yeah.
up there, like put her up there on the stage
Mm,
because she knows she can like do a whole like she can carry a whole scene by herself. So,
yeah,
like
she's great.
'cause
I
she had
I
so many
do
moments
like
like
the
that at
fact.
Midnight Mass.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I like her comeuppance was also um satisfying as well because it's like
Right.
the mirror is very like a poetic way because it's like that's her like her self-reflection or hatred of herself, which is why she has this weird why she's like forcing her husband to cuck her and doing all this other stuff and it's like
Classic forced
you're
cuckolding.
gonna you're just gonna die by a reflection of yourself is more or less gonna kill you. this mirror that's above the bed, which is like, man, this is like case in point right there. Why should never have a mirror up above your bed?
Oh yeah.
And it's just like shattered down and just like, yeah, it was rough.
And then yeah, that's interesting, their relationship in here. The fact that they had a very different relationship in Midnight Mass, as like he was like her loyal follower, basically. So
Mm.
there's interesting how the different characters interact in this series, and getting to see,
Yeah,
it's like the All Stars version. You get to see all these characters and actors interacting that we didn't in certain series.
so it to me, what's also also I guess it's difficult to do because all of them, each episode is dedicated to one dying, basically. Um, but like I wish that there had been like maybe just a little peeking a little bit more behind the curtain in terms of like the bastard children showing up, like what that was all about, like the I don't know. I just to me there was just more opportunity to mine for like what's going on with this. Like, why is he just sleeping around with random women? It's like, who are these women? Why are they
Yeah.
all of a sudden? I mean, it makes sense to me completely why he's willing to take them in, because that was something that had never been done to hit him or his sister. Right? They never wanted to leave family behind. So even though he'd sleep around with everyone,
Right.
and leave those women behind, his kids are still like, to a degree, are very important to him. To a degree,
To a degree,
obviously he
yeah. It's
doesn't.
like,
To a degree, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, anything else we didn't
Um,
talk about?
I think we pretty much covered all of it. I don't know if there's anything in particular we didn't hit. But I would say overall enjoyable, but because it is missing that element of like a through character that I really care a lot about, you know.
Right.
And it's like you do have elements of it, like I said, Lenore or August. I think August's speech at the end really covers it, like sums up everything pretty well. He's just like, I'm going home to my husband, my kids, and I'm the richest man in the world. And like, what did it get you, basically? Like,
Right.
what did all that wealth get you? And I was like, yeah, that's more or less the purpose of the point of the story. And
Got
it's
it.
like that's nice to sum up.
Got it.
But
Noted.
yeah, I don't
It's
know.
like it's like it's like okay, I'll keep it in mind. I'll like actually care about my children and
Yeah.
not be despicable, like you know.
Yeah.
But also, by the way, I looked up Lenore, who was so innocent in this. She
Mm.
wasn't in any of the previous Flanagan series, but
Hmm.
I just looked it up, and she was in 2015. She played young Nala on The Lion King in Broadway. So yeah,
Oh, that's fun.
yeah.
I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say, did you notice? This was one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite little things. This is actually one thing I wanted to bring up.
Hmm.
I died when it was her and her mother were watching stuff. They were watching some like old Universal movie.
Hmm.
But did you notice when they started flipping through Netflix? Did you notice what they landed on?
What did they land on?
Gerald's Game,
Oh, I
which was
didn't
a
notice.
Mike Flanagan movie, which we haven't watched yet.
Of course.
Henry Thomas is apparently amazing in that. He's like a horrible person, but Gerald's Game, and
Of course
I
he is.
laughed so hard. I was like, of course, there's landing on Gerald's Game. Why would you not? I thought that was very funny.
Yeah.
This is like
It's funny. I didn't notice that. I was actually looking when I saw that. I'm like, okay, where's like Haunting of Hill House, or where's
mhm.
something in here?
Yeah.
But I didn't see that.
the the Haunting of Hill House elements I enjoyed that were present here were like the little. These are, I noticed it mostly in Goldbug, which is wherever Carla Gugino's character was in the background, where she'd just be like there for like a few frames or something, or like they were really just like closing in, and then they like
Hmm.
you'd like see someone moving, and then it would like cut, like a really quick cut, and stuff like that was like satisfying parts of that episode, and that felt like some of the DNA uh, from from
Right.
earlier, from the Haunting sort of series.
I was pissed off. They got me the couple scares. Freaking like when Roderick's going off on some long monologue talking to Dupin, and
Oh
it just
yeah,
freaking it was the noise that was like Jesus Christ. This
it's
is
the noise. That is the noise he loves. Whatever that noise is he uses.
but it
But
was like I forget what
yeah.
it was, like glass or something breaking
Oh yeah.
just suddenly, just in the middle of a long
Yeah.
talking when you don't expect it. I was like, okay, you got me. But it felt like it was
Mm.
just how loud it was. It was like Jesus, right? Lower my volume, I guess. But there were a couple of moments like that. But for the most part, it's like more like creepy, unsettling
Yeah.
stuff and uncomfortable to watch. Um, yeah, but it's funny. Even like the side characters, like Frederick's wife, she was in Midnight Mass. Um, young,
Yes.
young,
Yes. She was in Midnight Mass. Yeah.
young Roderick was in
Yeah.
Midnight Mass and Midnight Club. It's like
Yeah.
everybody, for the most part, and then you get a couple in there
Yeah.
like
He is
Madeline that
my
weren't.
favorite. I think favorite character in Midnight Mass. I think.
Hmm.
Uh, what a well, other than Monsignor, he's Pruitt, who's
And
amazing.
Bev Keane
And Bev Keane shows up, of course,
and the
again.
sheriff. I mean,
Classic.
they're all. There's a lot of great characters in
They're
Midnight
all
Mass.
there. They're all here.
At least in Midnight
They're all
Mass.
here,
At
folks.
least in
This
Midnight
is like
Mass,
this is
the
the Smash Brothers. This is the
yeah.
Super Smash Brothers Ultimate of yeah.
At least in Midnight Mass,
Everyone is
the villains are more. They're more compelling, and that like you can kind of
oh,
understand
there's
more or
so
less where
much.
they're coming from.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's definitely a lot more. Like I said, I think like we said earlier, there's not much nuance here. It's very blunt. These are horrible people.
I
Listen
mean,
to how they talk about sex. Listen to how they talk about the hoi polloi. Listen to how it's like okay, like I get it. Like there are rich people that are definitely like this. Like, and a lot of them are weird sexual deviants. I get it, but like, is there something we can relate to with these people?
but the
um,
even in like the Haunting of Hill House, we saw how they did that, which was kind of similar how this one unfolded, to where there were different stories each episode. That one was like
mm,
we'll focus on different child each episode, and we have a different
yeah,
version of children here. But it's like,
yeah,
whereas in the Haunting of Hill House, where you could actually get to know and really appreciate them, this one is just like here's how they're bad and how they die. Here's how they're bad and how they die.
yep,
Hill House is the
right.
opposite, where it's like you're really
Right.
feeling for them and invested. It's just
Yeah,
a very different story. But I really,
yeah,
I
for
really
sure.
enjoyed the Fall of the House of Usher. I did.
Yeah, I did too. It's a solid series. I definitely would recommend it. Unlike Midnight Mass, I actually recommended my parents don't watch this. I was like, oh, we're watching this. You guys probably shouldn't watch it though. I mean, because there's so much swearing, and there's a lot of the boobs actually kind of phase out early on. Like most of the nudity, I would say, is in like pretty much mostly in the first couple of episodes.
Mhm.
It tends to phase it out after that. There's a lot less sex talk after that, but it's like
Yeah. No.
everything's like yeah.
Oh.
So I was like, my parents, they can probably skip it.
Okay. Okay.
But um,
I
for other
mean,
people who are big Flana fans, definitely don't miss it.
oh yeah, yeah, and
So
I definitely think it works for different people. It would work for
yeah,
different people. Could take a lot away from it. Other ones are like, okay, it's not really for me. I could definitely see that. It could be more polarizing. I don't know actually
this
how it's
this
being
might be.
received, but
Yeah, I don't really either. I can almost feel like some of the slower dramatic moments definitely I think appeal more to Flanagan types, but I feel like the focus on the deaths of these terrible people to me are more like I think those are more like horror fan pleasing. Like seeing like terrible people get their comeuppance to
yeah,
me is like there's a satisfaction from like horror fans, but I don't know how it's being received either. Really, I think it's like by fans. I know it was very well received critically, um, much like most of them are. Um,
which is good.
I think
I'm
there
glad.
was, yeah, yeah. Um, but
There's a lot
yeah,
of brilliance here. I mean, there really, I don't want to understate that. There's like a lot of really
yeah,
good stuff. The way they weaved all these stories together into such a really cohesive story, like all these very different Edgar Allan Poe stories, like
mm,
roughly, either inspired at least heavily, and just putting them all together in a way that okay, it's it's believable, but it's
yeah,
also like not super relatable. I mean, it's like it's a weirdly supernatural element to it, with the death character, and that kind of like pervades a lot of the logic of the movie. Is kind of not, you take it or leave it, because it's everything ultimately comes to a head in a certain way, and that's kind of what I was saying in the beginning, where it's like naturally less compelling than the other shows, because how it's going to resolve itself more or less, especially after the first couple deaths happen. It's like, okay, we're just going
mm,
through and we're seeing how it happens at this point. There's no like,
yeah,
there's no way this has a good ending. We don't all learn a great lesson by it. It's just like we're gonna see the fall of the House of Usher, and we're just gonna
yeah.
witness it.
And like, and that to me, again, I think would have made it more compelling is if you'd had the past stuff be more like you'd shown like the gradual like corruption. So like The Godfather, right? Godfather Part One, you see the slow corruption of Michael Corleone. Like that's the whole point of that movie. Um, and you don't really get that. It just kind of it like skips to like part of like Godfather Part One, and then immediately skips to like how he is in Godfather Part Two. Like you
Yeah,
don't see any of
yeah.
the gradual stuff there, and it's like to me, it's
The
like
nuance is
the
missing there.
why those movies work so well is because you have this. It's the rise and fall, like the rise, and he's at like peak
Mm-hmm.
evil in Part Two. He's just the worst person, and but he's that's why that movie's so good
Right.
because it's yeah. Um,
Because even in the
but
in the flashbacks, you see Roderick is like, he seems like a decent enough guy, right? You got Annabelle Lee here and
yeah,
everything, and then you cut to
yeah.
another flashback scene, and he's killing a guy. It's like, okay, all right,
He's killing a man. Who
sorry.
knows?
He's like,
Yeah,
had to do it.
yeah,
It's like, okay, and so
yeah.
he was just cold from the start. I mean,
Yep,
can't really blame
yep.
Madeline much here. He was completely on board for
Yeah,
Annabelle Lee.
yeah.
Justice for Annabelle
He's
Lee.
just a yeah.
So, all right.
That's I like that. I do like that poem a lot too. Actually,
Hmm.
and Billy is it's a very sweet, sad poem.
It's like you had this amazing wife, and okay, now you have like this basically child bride situation on your hands. Okay,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
fucked like 1,800 women along the way. It's like,
yeah,
cool. I guess
yeah,
that's where we're at.
yeah.
So, what score do we give the fall of the House of Usher?
I think this is 8.5. It's like right around 8.5. This is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I have like I said, very positive things to say about it, but it doesn't quite reach the heights of a lot of the previous. So I think I'm trying to remember what I gave Midnight Club. I don't know if I gave it an 8 or an 8.5. I don't really remember. But it's like right around in that
I
area.
think I don't know.
So
I think you gave it an 8.5. Uh,
yeah.
it's funny because we spent so much time critiquing this and talking about the different things, but it's an 8.5 for me too. All right, excellent.
I mean,
Yeah.
we I think we started off with more with the critiques, but as we sort of as we continue to talk about it, there's just so much to like about this. I mean, yes, there's things that I wish were a different way, or like I wish were delved into more. I wish some of the writing was a little bit more even-handed in terms of making us really kind of like the characters. But
Mhm.
if you're gonna adapt Poe in a way like this, make it fun, which they did. And if you're all going to be terrible people, at least make it enjoyable to see them all die, which it was. So, yeah.
So That's the Tarqaron score of 8.5. I mean, this is my probably my least favorite of Flanagan's series, and that's the low
Yeah,
bar for me is an 8.5. So I mean,
I know.
he just doesn't
So what is
miss.
that?
He doesn't miss.
Yeah, he really doesn't. Yeah.
And to be fair, also he directed 4 of the episodes, and it was a different director for 4 of the other episodes as well.
Yeah, I saw that.
So they did half
I
and
don't
half.
remember. Right. I can't remember the name of the top, but I saw that as well. Um, but I mentioned Red Letter Media earlier.
Mm-hmm.
They have been reviewing the Friday the 13th for October.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of part two, because they did the first five and then the latter five and the most recent one. At the beginning of it, Mike was like, "So I was watching Fall of the House of Usher. I had to stop so I could finish off these fucking movies."
Yeah.
So he's like, you had to stop this high, beautiful art. And you had to watch Friday the 13th movies to review. Um, yeah, I mean they're great. I mean you can't. It's well made, well crafted.
That's awesome. I mean,
By
it's the
production.
Smash Bros. Ultimate of the Flanagan cast. So you got
It
everyone's
definitely
here.
felt like it. Yeah.
uh,
Well, what's his name again?
Raul Coley.
He's gonna be in the next
Of
series
course he is, you son of a bitch.
because which is he's gonna be great, just like he is in
Yeah,
everything.
but yeah, you did share me that cast of the next one. Seeing Mark Hamill's in there is interesting.
Mark
Is he gonna
Hamill's,
be a new recurring
yeah,
Flanagan character, maybe?
I sure hope so because Lord knows I do love me some Mark Hamill.
Interesting.
I to me what's great, I like how leaning into the gruffness in his voice, like leaning into that and his sort of like more haggard appearance as he's aged.
Yeah,
I think it's great. I love the fact that he's getting roles like that. What is it? The Life of Chuck. That's the new one.
I'll check. So yeah, those two
Yeah.
and Carl Lumbly, and then at least in the picture here, there's no one
Yeah.
else that are the Flanagan
No,
character.
no, no. Heather Langenkamp wasn't she in? She was in.
Oh, correct. True.
She was in Midnight Club.
Midnight Club. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Heather Langenkamp. She's a Nightmare on Elm Street. I believe that's. I think that's Heather Langenkamp. I think that's where she's from.
Okay.
But yeah, none of the other actors, though. Jacob Tremblay, Matt Lillard, Tom Hiddleston, Karen Gillan, David freaking Demastalkian. He's in
Really
everything. That man's in every.
interesting.
That's pretty. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah,
That they're all going to be in it.
it's a scary good cast, says fandom.
It is a very good. Yeah,
Um,
it was quite exciting. So
but yeah, so I don't know about you, but personally, I would say this is probably my least favorite. I think.
it's like, yeah, I think Midnight Club just sort of edges it out. I think. Um,
Really,
I think
I think
making
you rated Blind Manor the lowest at least, but
yeah, I think I need to rewatch those first two again. I feel like Blind Manor would I don't know. I have to check that again. Um,
yeah,
I would like to. I'd
I gave
revisit
that an
those.
8.5, and you gave it an 8, which would make Blind Manor technically our lowest scored one. But I think, in my
Mm,
opinion, it's probably the lowest. But it's close. It's close. It's not noticeably the worst or
yeah,
anything. Like they're all excellent in different ways. So
yeah, yeah.
one thing I did note that really bothered me was when they quoted WAP, the song WAP, and they said wet ass party, make that pull out game weak when they were talking about the rave party in the beginning.
I blanked that out of my memory because it was cringe. Thanks for reminding me. This is an
she,
8 now. This is an
she
8.
was like wet ass party, make that pull out game weak. I'm like, I
Yeah,
passed away.
yeah. I passed away. Well, yeah, okay. Every time any of those characters started like talking in a certain kind of way, it made me like, I was like, No, please stop.
Yeah.
Please stop making these characters
I'm
say
like, okay,
anything. I hate it.
they're really trying to go for the Gen Z thing here. It's like, this is super modern Edgar
Yeah,
Allan Poe, and you're gonna know it. Wet ass pussy reference,
yeah.
but wet ass party. It's not even clever. Like,
No.
I don't even hate the writers. I hate that girl, that character who said it, because she deserved to die the horrible death she died.
I just hate her. She's the
The horrible acid death.
wow.
So you
Wow.
get the same
So that was
wet ass
actually another
party.
thing.
She's
Before we
Carl Gugino. There was a
wrap
deleted
entirely.
scene where Carla Gugino's character goes up to her and she's like, "She didn't have to say that, you know."
You really didn't have to,
But
You
here we
saying
are.
that, just I cringed so hard. You have to die now. No, that was actually another thing too, is right because they were supposed to be like 70. There was like a bunch of people invited, like 70 of the most powerful and influential like young people, invite only.
Right.
I guess none of them did follow up investigations for some reason. You know,
Yeah. Right.
so
Right. Like, cover this one up.
so much for
Cover it
that.
up. It's very easy to cover up this 70. How many deaths? There was like 100 some deaths or something. Wasn't there a lot?
Yeah, there's a lot. A lot of people died. Like 80 something people died or something. It was like,
It's like,
all
okay,
right,
I just hand wave that one away. It's like, damn it, clean that up, kids. I mean, Jesus.
yeah,
That's a difficult. Like, he did not care at all that his little decision to move their toxic chemicals over to this caused all these people to die. Literally, it's like, oh man, what a tragedy. Anyway, the numbers, the business numbers
yeah.
are low today. We need to get them.
Business. Yeah.
All right.
Well,
So quick, what's your ranking of the Flanagan series?
Flanagan series, I think it probably goes Midnight Mass, Hill House, Midnight Club, Bly Manor, this. Follow the House of Usher. I think probably.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about it.
I think that's where I'm at. But again, I might have. I've always had Hill House as number one. I might still have that as number one. Between that Midnight Mass. So yeah, I might say Hill House, then Midnight Mass, then
Yeah.
Midnight Club, Bly Manor, and this. But the life of Chucky or whatever. He's it's gonna be good.
The life of
Imagine
Life of
it's
Chuck.
just about
I don't
Chucky.
know what that's. That would be something.
Starring
That would
all of
definitely
our
be
favorite
something.
Flanagan characters. It's very
Yeah.
compelling.
No.
Like, oh wow, he killed it again. I didn't think a Chucky
Wow.
movie would work, but it does.
Hey, there's where the Mark Hamill comes in, right? Didn't he voice Chucky in the most
Did he?
recent
Wow.
one? I think he did. I thought he did.
Well, that's interesting. So is that the picture of the cast? Is that all the ones that are notable, or do you think there'll be more like Flanaganites in the mix?
Those are the only ones that were announced. Also, you just started janking out. Oh, you're back? Are you back?
I don't know. I've been back, never left.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been back. I never left. Oh, yeah, you just kind of like you started going like this for me. So, anyway, it's fine now. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, that's just all that's been announced. I mean, that could be just like principal cast, right? You could still like he could still like tie in, a bunch of the other people. Like for this, the only people I knew that were in this before it came out was Carla Gugino, Bruce Greenwood, and I didn't even know I don't even know if I remember that Mark Hamill was going to be in it until I started watching it.
I didn't remember until I started watching, but I definitely remembered like, oh yeah, he is in this. Because I remember hearing that back when this was first, like the rumblings were going around. Like Mark Hamill's going to be in the cast. Yeah. All right, yeah. So I mean, it's excellent acting too, for the most part, all around. I like. I think Bruce Greenwood was the standout. The standout for me.
Yeah.
Above all else, but and Carla Gugino, those two were like my biggest ones.
Those two are pretty amazing. Yeah, I agree.
Kudos,
So.
But yeah, we're here for the Flanagan verse. Wherever it takes us, we gotta go to Amazon Prime. So be it.
Yeah. Well, we got to go back and watch some of the earlier flicks too, like Oculus and Gerald's Game and such. So.
That's right. But man, I don't think we've never really had someone or something like this where it's like hit after hit. Not disappoint yet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. He's just a really very talented
I
filmmaker and storyteller.
I hope we
You
look.
know.
I hope history looks back on him as like a prolific filmmaker for sure, because he really has like come into his own as a force, especially for like horror series. To
Yeah.
where like really there was nothing in this landscape. There's barely anything of note before.
At least not in terms of this quality. That's for sure. Like this amount of like high quality greatness, I would say. Yeah,
Mm,
for sure. Um,
yeah.
yeah, good
So
stuff.
that's it. The Fall of the House of Usher. I don't know. Is it just the beginning of the next series? Do we know when? Have any idea of when that will come?
No, I don't think so. I think it's like they're going it's like compliant with SAG or whatever. So I think they may have started production on it already
Really?
or something. So it's like they've basically gone like are just following whatever rules the actors want. So like they're like, "Yep, we're working under those conditions." So
Oh,
like cuz the
interesting.
strike as of recording this, the strike is still going on in terms of the Screen Actors Guild. The writers
Yeah.
strike has been resolved, but um I think it's like I think it's on 100 days now. That's how long the
It's a long one.
SAG has
It's a long
been
one.
going for.
And
Yeah.
you want to know the people behind not resolving these issues? There are people just like this family here.
Yeah. Yeah, weird sexual deviants.
They are. They are. They don't give a
They
fuck.
probably, you know.
All right. Thank you for watching.
um,
What video would you recommend our viewers watch next?
oh, we've talked about it so much. Why don't you check out our review of Midnight Mass?
Absolutely. See
Yeah.
Bev Keane in her glory.
In glory, in all her glory. That's right. Yeah.
Do not cherry pick the glories of God. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment. If you do leave a comment, we'll be sure to read it in the next episode of the Tarqaron podcast. All right. Hit the link in the description for our social media and hit that notification bell. All right.
All right.